For October 8th, 2025, this is DC Action News, reporting bravely and boldly every week from the center of the multiverse. I'm Alex Jaffe. In sports news, Prime Earth is buzzing around the King Omega tournament, where 36 of the most formidable heroes and villains on the planet are facing off to generate and acquire the Omega energy necessary to fight off Darkseid's impending incursion. With me for an analysis of the preliminary bracket is superherologist Joshua Lapin-Bertone.
Hello, everyone.
Pleasure to have you on the show, Josh. To start us off, what exactly is Omega energy?
I'm glad you asked, because after hours of analysis and interviews with scientists at Star Labs, I got nothing. I guess it's not the anti-life equation. It's some sort of power that Darkseid's using. Look, like I don't know. Just we're supposedly all doomed. The Titans want us to evacuate the planet, but I mean, you know, we had Beast World not that long ago. I mean, we'll be fine. Omega energy, red skies. It's all the same at the end of the day.
I turned into a goose during that. It was wild.
Well, you had it lucky. Some of us, you know, we're goldfish, which is kind of hard when you're on land, but
that's all fair.
I was almost mauled to death by my cat, which was fun.
We can talk about that off mic. We've got a lot of heavy hitters in this tournament, and we value your perspective here. Our first match in this upcoming tournament is between Superman and Giganta. Now, is it true that Giganta used to be a gorilla and was transformed into a human woman?
That is what some people are saying. It's kind of problematic to talk about it, but yes, that's what it was at some point. Of course, there's conflicting reports that, you know, that she's an Amazonian or something else. There's a lot of information out there. I've heard the gorilla report. That's something that's talked about in some corners of the internet, but whether it's true or not, I don't have a 100% confirmation, but hey, sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. And you know what? If she was a former gorilla and she's a giant now, Superman, he kind of, you know, has fought giant gorillas before, and that's turned out all right. So
exactly. We all remember Titano. We have reports from alternate Earths about Superman mixing it up with King Kong. So I feel like this shouldn't be too far out of his wheelhouse.
No, giant gorilla, you know, giant woman, you know, it's all the same. This is Superman.
Right.
I don't know what they were thinking when they matched them up this way. As far as I'm aware, unless she's had a power up recently, Giganta can't shoot lasers out of her eyes. She can't fly. She doesn't have X-ray vision. She doesn't have freeze breath.
Right.
So,
I mean, at least Titano has kryptonite vision. Giganta's kind of up the creek here.
Yeah, and this is Superman. He's literally died and come back to life, which, granted, that's happened to a few people, you know, in these brackets over the years, but
almost all of them.
Yeah.
Which I think would bring us to our most explodiest match. We've got Captain Atom versus Power Girl in our next fight bracket.
I'm going to be honest. In my years studying, you know, superheroes, Power Girl just kind of eludes me, you know, because there's evidence that she was Atlantean. There's evidence that she was Kryptonian, but then maybe a Kryptonian from another Earth. So I honestly don't know what's true. Part of me thinks that it just might be Power Girl spreading misinformation about herself to throw her enemies off. I don't know.
I spoke to Atlantean Representative Tula a while ago about any alleged connections to Power Girl, and the official stance by the Atlantean government is that she's not related to them at all. So that's where they stand, but who's to say?
Yeah, but I'm sorry, does the government really know every single person in their race? The American government can say that they don't have that I'm not a human. That doesn't mean that I'm not. They don't have there's no way that the Atlantean government can keep track of every single Atlantean ever.
Your humanity is not under question here.
So why is her Atlantean humanity under question or non-humanity?
That's fair. I guess Power Girl just seems more in that Kryptonian weight class. Most Atlanteans I know can't fly.
That is true. And like I said, I don't know if this is just like all misinformation from her to try and, like throw off her enemies. However, Captain Atom, nuclear energy, that's whether you're Atlantean or Kryptonian, that could hurt. So I don't see this going well for Power Girl.
Really? That's interesting to me. Because I don't see Superman as someone who's bothered too much by nuclear weaponry. I've heard stories about him rounding nuclear weapons up and throwing them into space, fighting nuclear men.
Well, with all due respect, Power Girl is no Superman, and I'm not entirely convinced that she's Kryptonian or at least the same class of Kryptonian as him. Where's her S?
That's true. I don't have a comeback to that.
And if you were a Kryptonian, would you not want to announce it loud and proud? Like, being a Kryptonian sounds awesome. Like,
yeah.
Superman, Supergirl, they have no trouble telling people that they're Kryptonian.
The absence of an emblem on her costume is damning. And that's something we've got to consider for the old Captain Atom. All right, our next match is the Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, versus Firestorm.
So we have lots of nuclear power, here.
Right.
In my interviews with various, people associated with the Justice League over the years, there's a tale that goes around that Guy Gardner once battled the supernatural hero known as Batman and lived to tell the tale. He was knocked out, but he survived, and not that many people face this guy and survive. So you add in the fact that he's got a Green Lantern power ring. He's been a part of the Green Lantern Corps, which is like this intergalactic, space force. This ring can do a lot of things. Firestorm, he's a dime store Captain Atom. He has nuclear energy. Okay, so do other people. I think Guy Gardner's got this.
That's a cogent analysis, but I mean, Firestorm is known for his ability to generate nuclear compounds. And there is that story about Green Lanterns having a weakness to the color yellow. I feel like it wouldn't be too hard.
Debunked. Oh my. Yes.
Okay. Where's the report?
That is just misinformation to throw their enemies off. Okay. I'm sorry. How is a color a weakness? Who made that up? A sixth grader?
I mean, Superman gets his energy from a yellow sun. It's not without precedent.
He gets his energy from solar energy. They say yellow sun to dumb it down for the normies.
Okay.
It's solar energy from the type of sun in our system, which, yes, happens to be yellow. It would be different if he was under a different type of star, but it's all about the solar energy and the frequency and the type of solar energy. You explain that to your grandma or your Uber driver, and they're going to be like, huh? So you say yellow sun. Colors are not weaknesses. Otherwise, if this was true, all of Green Lantern's villains would have just painted themselves yellow and fought like them. How would this intergalactic space force still be operating after all these years if their weakness was a color? They would have been defeated week one.
It's a really good point. Okay. I got to give this one to Green Lantern then. Our next match is probably going to be a quick one. We've got the Flash, the original Flash from the JSA, and Cheetah, some say Wonder Woman's arch nemesis.
Yes. So some would say, I think that Wonder Woman's arch nemesis is misogyny, and with Veronica Cale in second place. But, Cheetah, she can... She can be up there if she wants.
She's got magic, I think. That's how her powers work. She had some kind of bargain with some plant god, which gave her cat powers. I've never really been sure how that works.
Yeah, but what is a cat power? She can knock over a potted plant, and hiss and scratch. Jay Garrick, he's fast. And
famously,
or Cheetah's fast, yeah, but they're not Flash fast. Let's be real here. So if this is an issue of speed, Jay Garrick's got this in the bag. And he's not even one of the faster Flashes. If you've been to the Flash Museum, there's an exhibit about the different incarnations of the Flash and their speeds. Jay Garrick, not as faster as the newer guys, but still pretty fast. faster
Hard
than
to
a
follow,
cheetah,
yeah.
faster than this cheetah. And by the way, been in the Justice Society. Ever heard of them? What supervillain group has Cheetah been in? Jay Garrick's got this in the bag.
I don't think Oddmakers are going to make too much money off of this one because I feel like the outcome of this one is fairly obvious. We got Aquaman versus King Shark.
So Aquaman's powers, there's telepathy involved.
Right.
He can't control fish, but he can influence fish. King Shark, really big fish. Aquaman, King Shark, okay, king. Aquaman, king of the sea. Aquaman fought alongside the Justice League in many intergalactic battles. King Shark, C, maybe D-lister villain. I don't see King Shark getting an advantage here. Yes, maybe if he's able to bite Aquaman, okay. Let's say he gets his teeth on Aquaman. He's got his armor, so he'd have to get him on what limited skin he has. And even if he does, what's he going to do? Bite off his arm? Been there, done that. And Aquaman's just fine.
We've seen Aquaman fight one-handed before. This is a very good point.
Yeah.
I feel like when you get a king of the seas and the king of all sharks in an arena, there is a hierarchy of power situation, to borrow a phrase. And I don't see this going well for Nanaue. Our next match is Connor Hawk and Hawkman. Now, Connor Hawk is a character that some might not be familiar with. He is the recent winner of the Lazarus tournament, another big event that happened just a couple years back, where some of the most promising martial arts talent went head-to-head to claim some kind of immortality prize. Connor Hawk won that tournament, but didn't claim the prize. And here he's going up against another classic JSA member.
Yeah, this one feels like a no-brainer to me because, yes, it's a JSA, or yes, it's someone that, knows a thing or two about reincarnation and immortality. However, I'm sorry, but when your resume says, I won a tournament full of the deadliest assassins, I feel like that's a player that you don't want to sleep on.
No, I think this might be Hawk's opportunity to show off his skill to a wider audience here, as everybody watches this Omega energy coalesce around whoever this winner is supposed to be. This next one, I'm kind of really conflicted about. I don't know how to call this one. We've got Lex Luthor in this tournament going up against Suicide Slum hero Black Lightning.
Yeah, and this one is really interesting because there are, reports that Black Lightning is Jefferson Pierce, who was in Lex Luthor's presidential cabinet as the Secretary of Education.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, everyone forgets about that. And it's you have a former president battling a former member of his cabinet. This is not only going to be cool for the superhero historians, but for political historians, as well. Black Lightning, his only thing is, lightning, which is, which is great and all. Lex Luthor, yes, he is a mortal man, but he has been able to go toe-to-toe with people like Superman, the entire Justice League. He's built power suits, which are, obviously able to harness, stuff like lightning attacks.
Yeah.
At one point, he had the identity of Superman when Superman disappeared, a few years ago. He's been in the Justice League. He's fought the Justice League. Yeah, he's kind of a shady guy, but I don't know. Do you remember, about 6 or 7 years ago when the sun went out? Who was it that, figured out how to solve that problem? Lex Luthor.
Oh, I thought it was Pharaoh Lad.
I mean, if you want to believe, some of the news reports, some of the other hero biographies, sure. But Lex Luthor, the heroes went to Lex Luthor saying, hey, we need help against this Sun Eater problem.
Right.
Even Superman, of all people, has turned to Lex Luthor.
That's
and
true.
Don't forget how he led us during the Imperiex War.
Oh, right. Yeah. He did save our ass in that. I got to give him full credit.
And I know that defending Lex Luthor, it's very weird, politically, because I don't want to be, labeled on the left or the right because yes, there's a lot of controversy surrounding him and his past and stuff like that. But we can't argue. I mean, it's we talk about Connor Hawk and stuff like that, where you can't argue with the person's resume. I'm sorry. You can't argue with the person's resume, you know? And what has Jefferson Pierce got? He's got lightning. He's been in, like, The Outsiders, you know?
Right.
Cool. Lex Luthor has led a frickin' nation. Lex Luthor has, like, crossed the Joker and lived to tell the tale. Lex Luthor is one of the only people that makes Superman nervous. So, yeah, good luck, Black Lightning. You have fun with that.
The way I see it is Lex Luthor is probably in this tournament for one reason, and it's to fight Superman in front of the world. And you got to imagine that he's factored in all of the fighters in his bracket in order to get to that point in the semifinals.
Yeah. Yeah,
all right.
He's planned ahead for this. Like, if Lex Luthor knows how to find and get power, like, I don't want to sound like a Luthor fanboy,
nobody wants Luthor to win, but we're looking at the odds here.
I'm not sure that I don't want Luthor to win. I mean,
really,
was the world a safe place under Luthor?
You know, I think that's a discussion for that's a discussion that we'll have around election time. Right now, I'm more concerned with who's going to win this match between the Demon Etrigan and Supergirl.
Okay, well, Etrigan will be too busy trying to, like, spit rhymes, like, you know, so.
He has been trying to get a rap career off the ground. It's been dire.
Mm-hmm. Again, Demon, you know, fire, cool. We got a Kryptonian on our hands here. With more power sets than a demon has. So I'm giving it to Supergirl.
Yeah. Again, like what you were talking about with the color yellow in the Green Lantern Corps, I hear a lot about how Kryptonians are particularly vulnerable to magic. I have yet to hear any story about a magic villain actually defeating a Kryptonian.
It's like, yes, you're weak to magic, but you probably have to have a good magic spell. And that's, right, you know, if we're going to assume that magic is real, which is a whole nother, you know, thing that we're talking about. And people are going to say, oh, yes, yeah, blah, 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 Zatanna. Yes, I know. But, like, there's explanations for everything in this world.
Right.
Yes, is magic going to stop, like, Supergirl from using her freeze breath to, like, make Etrigan into a block of ice? Is it going to stop her from, like, spinning him around and throwing him into the sun, saying, so long, King Bowser, or something like that? Like, come on.
I don't see that happening. Etrigan's not really much of a spellcaster. He can breathe fire. I think that's really about it. More analysis on the Kingo Mega Tournament after this.
Greetings, ghouls and ghoulettes. It's me, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Are you sure this is a great way to advertise, Harley?
What do you mean? Everybody listens to DC Action News where I'm from.
I just feel audio misses my impressive, natural talents.
Your boobs, too.
Oh well, wouldn't be the first time. I've put a lot of effort in, only to lead to a disappointing climax. I'm here to tell you that the largest, greatest, most spectacular Halloween block party in the history of the human race is... Is that too much?
I was thinking you were underselling it.
The most fantastic Halloween party in the history of the universe. There will be spooks, scares, costumes, bobbing for watermelons. If you know how to get your mouth around a couple of melons, come on down and see me privately so I can properly judge your technique.
You know, I'm pretty good with melons myself.
Are you now?
Pam's given me no complaints, and that's a girl who knows her melons.
We'll talk later. Of course, the centerpiece of the event is me, the hostess with the ghostess, ruling over the party with a firm grip, a luscious mouth, stamina unparalleled,
and a sweet set of cans.
Harley, as much as I love how you are a Party City store that has magically come to life in order to learn the true meaning of Boxing Day, or whatever your secret origin is, I do normally do these things alone.
Why would you do that when I'm right here?
You know, Harl, looking at you now, dressed in an outfit I can only assume you stole from a toddler.
I did!
I can't possibly think of a reason. Everyone come to Brooklyn for a Halloween party you won't forget, no matter how hard you try. Until then, unpleasant dreams.
Welcome back to DC Action News. We're covering the King Omega tournament bracket. that brings us to our second half. This is an interesting one. In our first preliminary round here, Wonder Woman is going to be fighting Starro the Conqueror.
I feel like we've done this before because Starro has fought Wonder Woman. You know, like, yes, it's been alongside the Justice League, but like Wonder Woman's won, and she's only gotten stronger since like the first time that they tussled like many years ago.
That's true. I was going to say that. I don't think any hero in the main Justice League has gotten more powerful since their debut than Wonder Woman.
Yeah, like, yes, he can attach himself to her face, you know, blah, blah, blah. Cool. She's gotten past that before. Like, right now, in terms of like Starro versus Wonder Woman, it's Starro 0. Wonder Woman, I've lost count.
That's true.
How is this going to be any different?
Starro, quite famously, has all these extraneous limbs that would be quite easy to tie up with, say, a lasso. I feel like this is Wonder Woman's match to dominate and really show off how far she's come.
Yeah.
Next, we've got Lobo, an intergalactic favorite, versus Plastic Man.
Yeah, man, I don't know who is picking these brackets, but if I was Plastic Man and I saw this, I would look at that person and say, F you, dude. Like, really? You know, putting the violently crazed guy who can, and by the way, this has been confirmed by multiple interviews and video footage. Lobo can regenerate from a single drop of blood. Plastic Man, yes, very durable. You know, yes, you know, like he can like stretch. Sometimes he's bulletproof, supposedly.
I've heard him called the most powerful member of the Justice League before.
And who did you hear that from? His press agent?
I did hear that from one Woozy Winks. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Then how come the Justice League isn't always calling him when, like, you know, these big problems happen? I'm sorry. I've yet to see like Plastic Man like save the day. Like, he deals with like local problems and like, you know, local villains. And if the Justice League was a sitcom, Plastic Man would be the comic relief.
Sure.
Lobo is just a guy who like likes his big weapons. There are reports that he annihilated his entire race.
Oh boy.
His entire race as a school science project.
Hope we got an A on that. So
his entire race. What prayer does Plastic Man have?
You're saying that it would be kind of a stretch, I suppose.
I mean, a stretch is all Plastic Man is going to have on his side. He would need to get really lucky, and even if he did, once again, Lobo regenerates from a single drop of blood, so you're going to have to be going at this for a while, Plas.
Yeah, Lobo may have what it takes to bring it all the way, but that's beyond our scope at this point. I'm more focused on what's going to happen between the mythical Swamp Thing, a cryptid who has been entered into this tournament, versus internationally renowned supermodel and fashion mogul, Mary-Jo McCabe, also known as the superhero Vixen.
Yeah, so you might recall about 10 or 15 years ago or so, I'd have to look up the exact date, Swamp Thing invaded Gotham City.
I remember this.
Yeah, and it was really weird. It was because like they locked up his like girlfriend in Arkham Asylum because she was crimes against humanity for stuff that I can't say because there might be young listeners here, but wow.
You see, I've heard that was a poison ivy thing that got out of control.
There was giant swamp things running through the city. He multiplied. There's photographs and there's video footage of some of this. He made Batman do something that Batman does not often do, which is surrender. So I've kind of never forgotten that, and all I've thought of since then is, well, thank God he's on our side. Well, guess what, Miss McCabe, supermodel? He's not on your side in this case. You're the person that's against him. If Batman couldn't defeat him, if Batman had to give up, and surrender Gotham, what hope does a supermodel have? And she can channel animals. Cool. Swamp Thing can channel nature. Let me ask you something. If nature went up against animal kind, who would win?
That's a hypothetical I'm not prepared to answer. But
it's not a hypothetical. It's about to happen.
I guess we're going to find out.
This is going to happen.
All right. Our next fight here is Cyborg of the Titans and the Justice League versus Batwoman, who don't know a lot about, but seems to be like a Batman who sometimes uses guns. That might be her deal. She's been pretty elusive.
I keep on having to remind, like, you know, my sister that Batwoman and Batgirl are two different people.
As far as we know.
This is one thing that normies get confused about. I know. Well, and like according to the photographs, like they both have red hair. Although, like there was that period where Batgirl dyed her hair blonde. You know, so who knows? Of course, you know, like Batman and like Robin, there's probably like been 20, you know, Batgirls and Batwomen and stuff like that. I don't know. So then it raises the question, which Batwoman is this? Meanwhile, we know a lot about Victor Stone. Unlike some heroes, he's pretty open about who he is and what he's about.
Very active social media presence.
Yeah. Well, but not only that, like we know his name, we know his biography, we know his power set. He was founding member of the Justice League. And, you know, like fought alongside the Titans for years, led the Titans at one point. You know, Titans, you know, very, you know, big deal group, almost as big as the Justice League.
Yeah. We're talking about Omega
like,
energy here. He's literally powered by a mother box.
Yeah. So, like, even if you discount the powers, I almost have to give it to him based on experience alone. Like, this is a guy who's, like, fought aliens and, like, you know, been by the Justice League and Titans side for their biggest victories. This Batwoman, okay, she's, like, you know, fighting muggers in Gotham. I don't even know, like, I have my conspiracy theories about, you know, the so-called Bat family that, like, I feel like some of them just, like, kind of don't have powers the way that Batman does, and they just kind of like wear the costume to Aura Farm and like scare criminals and ride on the coattails.
Yeah.
So we don't know anything about this Batwoman, but I feel like if she was as powerful as Batman and if she did have like, you know, powers to rival Cyborg, we'd be seeing her outside of Gotham City. And we really haven't.
That's a good point. All right, just a few more to go. Is Batman, the urban legend himself, versus Star Sapphire?
Yeah, I mean, it's Batman.
It is Batman. A rare opportunity to see him on film.
Yeah. I mean, yes, like there's that guy that like shows up, you know, like to the police station once in a while, but like, and to like press conferences. But like, I mean, I've always believed that that's just like someone that like the city hires, you know, kind of like, you know, when you would like when we were little and you would have like a cartoon character come to the opening of your school.
Oh, sure.
I think that that's to like, number one, make sure that kids aren't scared of Batman. And I think it's like propaganda and, you know, and stuff like that and like whatever.
Star Sapphire's been a villain, recently seems to have made a heroic turn. Not sure where she stands right now.
You know, and then there's, you know, all the things about like the spectrum, you know, and like the emotion-based powers, you know, which is cool. Batman's been around for decades. We still don't even have the grasp of his powers. Like, we know that he can like, you know, shoot like, you know, blades from his arms. You know, he can like teleport. He can like consume you with shadows possibly.
I've heard this, yes.
I don't see how Star Sapphire is going to like, you know, go against that. I mean, and if we had to do this like another way,
yeah,
you know, do you consider a Star Sapphire stronger than a Green Lantern?
I would call them comparable.
So if we're going to call them comparable, you know, we spoke about that fight earlier between Batman and Guy Gardner. That Guy Gardner did survive, but Batman won. So if Batman was able to win a fight against a Green Lantern, I think he'll do okay against Star Sapphire.
I guess the romantic in me is kind of rooting a little bit for the power of love to win this tournament, you know? Hang on. I'm getting a report that Batman has already been eliminated from the tournament and taking his place in this this bracket.
Source.
Hold on, I'm getting this right from the World Forger, Josh. He's telling me that Batman's place in this bracket has been taken by the Joker.
No, I need confirmation that this is Batman we're talking about.
It is hard to believe. I don't think Batman's ever been beaten by the Joker before, but this is what I'm hearing over the official wires. Booster Gold confirms.
Okay, I'm going to need to process this.
All right, we'll come back to this later. Our next match is Red Hood and Robin I think it's the newest Robin. It seems to be. It's hard to tell them apart sometimes.
It would have to be the newest Robin because, like, if this is the Robin that's in a tournament, it means that like the other one is either dead and retired.
Right.
So I haven't. But like, so one of my superheroologist colleagues, Donovan Morgengren, he has a fascinating book, like where he dived into the history of Robins, and he estimates that there's been at least 24, possibly more, because I mean, obviously, like Robin's been around for so long. Like we've already had to confirm that the first one is Nightwing, but like since then, it's like, how can this person still look like a teenager? Like this isn't like a Dick Clark situation here, and plus all of the stuff that you've seen him go through. We know that Batman is a supernatural creature, but like the hypothesis that Donovan has is that like Batman recruits young people, possibly street urchins, to like fight alongside him, and they're mortal, but like, I don't know, it's like some sort of Faustian deal, but either way, they never last long. So I don't see what this Robin's going to do, especially against Red Hood, because he uses, like, I've heard stories about him like slaughtering gangs and stuff like that, and like
we all know the duffel bag full of heads story. Yeah.
So like, what is teenager number 24 in a long line of dead teenagers going to do against that?
I was going to say, in that Lazarus tournament, Robin got all the way to the final, but there is no guarantee that this is the same Robin.
I don't think it's the same Robin.
It couldn't be.
That Lazarus tournament was like about a year ago. Like there's probably been 2 or 3 Robins since then.
Yeah. Our next match is going to be a pretty spectacular one. 2 fan favorites here. We've got world famous magician Zatanna going up against Big Barda, wife of Mr. Miracle and world famous large woman.
I love that it's wife of Mr. Miracle. Like, when is Mr. Miracle going to be called wife of husband of Big Barda?
I think you got that right. Wife of Big Barda.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Cool. But yeah, either way, Big Barda. Like, former female Fury, like.
True. Talk about Omega energy.
Yeah. So I think she has a little bit of experience with this whole dark side thing. Of course, like, what's that going to do against Zatanna? Oh, Zatanna, she can talk backwards, and like, that does stuff. I allude to this earlier. I don't entirely believe in magic. I think that Zatanna's powers are like based in some sort of other type of like, energy or power base, whatever. But this is a former female Fury. The female Furies are feared throughout the galaxy. So Zatanna is, like basically a former Vegas performer that like somehow like has been alongside the Justice League.
You see this being kind of a quick one, I guess.
A very quick one.
All right. We'll see how far Barda goes. I'd love to see her square off against Wonder Woman in the semis, but a few things will have to go right. Our last match is a bit of a wild card. Harley Quinn, former beau of the Joker, currently with Poison Ivy, against Metamorpho of The Outsiders.
Here's the weird thing with Metamorpho. Like, because this is a hero that I've been studying for some time. His power set should make him one of the most powerful members of the superhero community, but he's not really, a leader. He's always like supporting somebody else, like a member of the Outsiders, like, a member of like, like a supporting member of this team, doing the bidding of his like crooked father-in-law, Simon Stagg. He can't really make decisions for himself. And if he like had it in his head, his true potential, he could possibly be one of the most powerful like superheroes in the world, but he just doesn't have that instinct. Meanwhile, Harley Quinn, she just does what the heck she wants. Like, no, she doesn't have these elemental powers, but like she's unpredictable, and I think that could throw Metamorpho off. Like to be honest, for all of the guy's powers, he's a wimp.
I mean, you bring up a great point. Let's not forget that before her transformation, Harley Quinn was famously a psychiatrist, and if anyone would be able to get into Metamorpho's head, she might have the key.
Yeah, and he would not be a hard person to exploit.
No.
I mean, he's very easy. I mean, I use the term malleable, and that's not a pun. He's just always supporting somebody else, like his father-in-law that's tried to kill him, allegedly. Justice League, Outsiders.
Metamorpho has come back from the dead many times, but that just means that he's also easy to kill.
Yeah, it's like burying the lead there, which is that like he's also died multiple times despite being all powerful.
Now, I thank you so much for your time. I think this is some valuable analysis. Before I let you go, I do have to ask, of these fighters, who do you see going all the way?
Ooh, well, I would have said Batman, but according to your reports, he's eliminated early. This is going to be a controversial choice. This might get me canceled on social media. I'm going with Lex Luthor.
I thought so, by the way you were talking about him in the first match, but I think this is Superman's year.
Maybe his summer, like the summer of Superman, whatever. But summer's over.
And now it's time for the fall.
Yeah, the fall of Superman and the rise of Lex Luthor.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me, Josh. We'll have you back on soon.
Thank you.
And that's all the news on your Prime Earth. For DC Action News, I'm Alex Jaffe, and your day has now been saved. For more on these developing stories, read DC KO #1 and Elvira Harley Quinn #1. DC Action News is created by Alex Jaffe and is produced by Alex Jaffe and Esper Quinn. Additional contributions by Joshua Lapin-Bertone, Jadzia Axelrod, and J.R. Blackwell. This is a listener-supported broadcast. Your contributions to patreon.com/DC Action News keep us running. Special thanks to supporter Oliver Devine. If you'd like to join our cast or have any comments, questions, or ideas, write to us at show@dcactionnews.com. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of DC or Warner Brothers Discovery, nor should they be read as confirmation or denial of future DC plans. Never stop reading comics.